Now, new law just dropped, so I'm gonna be going to cover what happened during the War for Ireland, and after that, I'm going to talk about theories. I really just have one theory right now about Ireland and its future in the world. So, let's get started. Ready, set, go! Alright, so before you even saw those big, ominous heretic fleets on the horizon of Erie, the whole invasion plan for Ireland was already in motion. Zachar, that's the heretic sea lord leading the charge, had been plotting to take over the Emerald Isles for a long-ass time. He's not any general. This guy is big dick strategist and big dick powerhouse with Gaelic magic, making him probably like the deadliest threat Ireland's ever faced in this story. Now, years before the invasion kicked off, weird stuff started happening in the Irish countryside. The path of the beast began stirring up trouble thanks to a pact. Zachura, I know I mispronounced that. Okay, give me some slack. Made with the coat of the moon. Young Irishmen and women started disappearing when they wandered into the woods under a full moon. When they came back, they weren't the same. Screaming, naked, bodies marked with the beast's runes. Some gave birth to monstrous creatures, and some ran off to join secret covens hidden deep in the wilds, leaving humanity behind. Meanwhile, those wild beasts start raiding remote villages and burning crops, and Ireland got cut off from the rest of the faithful nations because their merchant ships kept getting ambushed and plundered by these fucking heretic assholes. This all drained the island's strength because no food, you can't export food or import food because all your shit keeps getting fucked up. And the coastal defenses got sloppy as the Irish scrambled to contain the growing chaos of, the woods having crazy werewolves in them. Zachariah, I'm gonna pronounce that name differently every time I say it, I hope you know. A devoted follower of the great infernal Duke, Falktor, who commands winds and waves, waited until the island was sufficiently weak. Then he pulled up with his gang and all his ships and all the guns they had together into a massive fleet, just all of them, one big massive fleet, and launched near Boya Ethlaclila, or Dublin, as it is in our world. That's just the Irish pronunciation of Dublin, I guess, yeah. Now, this caught the Irish off guard. His forces even got their heavy heretic artillery ashore without any hassle or conflict, because why the hell would you expect just all of a sudden every ship the heretic fleet got, well, not all of them, but a lot of ships, just to come out of nowhere and say, surprise bitch, we're shooting your place up? As the Irish scrambled to defend their coast, Zachariah dropped his next big move. He performed a massive blood sacrifice of captive, pumping so much Gothic power into it that it opened the helm mouth at the pole and a flankland. Suddenly, armies from the court itself poured through to back up the heretics, trapped between the infernal armies, the beast raiders, and, if you got too close to the shore, you're gonna get bombed by artillery or just a big-ass cannon. Now, the Irish forces were crushed, and the High Kings Muradech died in battle. I pray I'm saying that right. Zachariah, I think that's how I'm going to pronounce it, took the crown off his head and claimed Ireland by right of conquest. With the main Irish army wiped out, the heretics swept through the coastal cities like Boila Ethlaclia, Longstrom, Duncannon, and more. My apologies if I pronounced any of those names wrong. Churches and cathedrals were either burned or turned into brutal temples where black knife priests performed blood sacrifices. Those who resisted got wiped out, and the old holy hymns were replaced by hell's dark lies. The Irish were pushed into guerrilla warfare just to survive on their own soil. I'd usually make a IRA joke, but I feel like I have a little bit more class than that. With their cities lost, King Niall moved the capital inside to Kilkennan, easier to defend because the heretic fleet guns couldn't reach it. But this just meant more of the countryside fell to the invasion over time. Refugees fled by sea aiming for France, Alba, or England, but many got caught by the heretic navy. Some were sacrificed or sold into slavery to the court of the seven-headed serpent. This slightly bothers me, and I'll get into that later. I'll get why the slavery part bothers me. It's not the fact that slavery exists in this world. No, I'll get into that later, okay? That's all I'm gonna say. Now, a lot of people gave up entirely, embracing the path of the beast and becoming the twisted monsters that are haunting the wilds of Ireland. As this devastating war tore through Ireland like a giant serpent, swallowing everything alive, most of the world just watched. England couldn't help. They lost their fleet at the Battle of the Bloodied Cliffs and had no way to intervene, even though everyone knew that England was next. Only France sent reinforcements, while the rest of the faithful mostly just offered thoughts and prayers. The Duke of New Antioch, though, sent his own elite bodyguards with a message that Ireland needs their help more than him or anyone else as a fact, really. Then in 1890, young Queen Bridget took the throne after her father was killed on the front lines by an artillery witch. Things looked hopeless. Maps showed Ireland as part of the heretic domain, but Bridget ignored her advisors and married Damel, a brilliant general despite his low birth. Together they hatched a desperate plan to save what remained of their kingdom, and even maybe bring it back from complete death, basically, at this point. One of her first moves was to lift the ancient ban on the Fianna. I know I said that wrong, I'm so sorry. Now the Fianna are wild hunter warriors. Despite her confessor's complaints about their pagan ways, with the Fianna's help, the royal court rallied whatever forces remained to confront the heretics. Then Bugrid sent a letter to the Pope asking for just one warrior to come and aid the Irish, a symbolic gesture to pray for us and to show the church's support. To everyone's shock, Bugrid asked the Pope to send a paladin in. Paladin Asilis. I know I said that wrong, but hey, who cares? And despite everyone's complete shock, he agreed. Ansius took on a secret mission, storming the Hellmouth alone with only his weapons and the banner of the Storgon. Jesus Christ, why can't I pronounce a single one of these names, Jesus? But, yeah. Now, admittedly, his weapons were basically just, the equivalent of nuclear bombs to us, because in basically indestructible plate of armor and a sword that can pretty much kill anything, so, not just your average weapons. After the Vienna learned that Zenitra was aboard his flagship, Hymn of Obscurity, they launched a daring raid to take him out. Nobody knew how they cracked the heretic password or fooled Zacharias Beast Guard, but somehow they did. A Vienna berserker blew up the warship, sinking the massive behemoth and killing Zachary, along with several other battleships. That blow alone would have turned the tides, but then news came from the paladin. Azil had succeeded. Though bloodied, wounded, and missing an eye, and also his unbreakable chest plate, he emerged from the collapsed Hellmouth, victorious without their leader, and cut off from the court of the seven-headed serpent. The heretics fell into chaos. That was the break that Ireland had been praying for. Damel led a brilliant campaign, pushing the invaders back into the sea with fierce battles. The cost was terrible. Over 3/4 of the Irish forces died, but thanks to the Vienna holding the path of the beast at bay, they managed to keep the army supplied. Not one of the Duke's bodyguards survived, and to this day Ireland honors their memory by sending skilled skirmishers to aid New Antioch. In total, the invasion claimed half of Ireland's population through war, famine, and flight. And now it is time for my crackpot personal theories on what this could all be about. Now, something interesting that we know about the Heretic Legion is the fact that they take slaves and sell them to the seven-headed serpent court. Now, the reason I put this down as a theory and not just something evil they do is because it's proven something that I've been wondering about. It's well, not really proven, but made me wonder about it again, and it leaves a lot of questions. And that question is, how can humans enter hell? Because these guys were humans. They were brought there as slaves and sold there. So how did they get there? Like, why are they in hell? How is that just possible? What the hell did they do to them? And what my current theory is simple. Simply put, they could just turn them into demons. That makes some sense. Now, for those of you who aren't so familiar with the lore, the reason I'm saying that wouldn't really make sense is because it's stated that to get to hell, you have to be really evil. And I don't think all of those slaves were completely evil. Now, maybe it's not that you can't enter hell if you're not evil, but if, just simply put, you're not evil enough, you're going to be tortured, and slavery, I would say, is a form of torture. So maybe that's what they mean. For example, every heretic legion, like recruitee that wants to join and, gets too prideful and tries to, be with the big evil boys, ends up as a slave, which is something that's pretty damn evil and would be pretty torturous, or would fit in line with the law. Now, I couldn't have come up with a lot of theories, but I did get one theory, and that's why the Heretic Legion wanted hell so much, and that's because it's another point of attack. Here, just hear me out, okay? If they managed to take Ireland, they would be more able to take England, especially with them basically having no navy. They could just set up a bunch of factories in Ireland that can pump out supplies, and even make a lot of boats for them. And once they do that, they could just infinitely keep raiding England until it fell. And then once they had control over England, Britain, Scotland, and the rest of that area, which would be just as hard as taking Ireland, they would then be able to do a three-pronged attack, attacking from the north in the Hellmouth in the north, attacking from the south from the Spanish Peninsula, Iberian Peninsula, and attacking from the west from England, Scotland, and Wales. And once they do that, their victory would be sealed. But hey, what do you think about that? Comment it down below. Comment your own theories. I'd love to hear them. And I'm sorry about this video coming out late. I had a bunch of different things I needed to do on Tuesday. But today, don't worry, next Trench Crusade Tuesday will actually be on Tuesday.